My brother's wife humiliated me at their mansion party, calling me a charity case in front of 200 guests. She had no idea I'd been anonymously funding their lifestyle for 3 years. When I stopped the payments the next morning, their perfect world collapsed in 48 hours. What happened next shocked everyone who'd laughed at me. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The invitation arrived on cream-colored cardstock, the kind that announced money before you even read the words. Marcus and Vanessa Chen cordially invite you to celebrate their 10-year anniversary. Black tie. The estate at Meadowbrook. Saturday, October 14th, 7 p.m. I held it up to the light in my small apartment, watching the embossed lettering catch the afternoon sun streaming through my single window. The paper probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. My phone buzzed. Marcus's name lit up the screen. "Hey, David. You got the invitation, right?" His voice carried that easy confidence of someone who'd never worried about money. Vanessa's really going all out this time. It's going to be incredible. "I got it," I said, setting the invitation on my second-hand coffee table. Black tie seems pretty formal. "It's our 10th anniversary, man. And Vanessa wants to do it right. You know how she is." He laughed. "The caterer alone is costing us 15 grand. Can you believe that? But hey, you only celebrate a decade of marriage once, right?" I didn't mention that 15,000 was more than I made in 3 months working as a high school math teacher, or that my entire apartment could fit inside their living room twice over. "Sounds amazing," I said instead. "I'll be there." "Great. Oh, and don't worry about a gift. Your presence is present enough." Another laugh. "That's what Vanessa keeps saying. She put it on the invitation too. No gifts necessary." After we hung up, I walked to my bedroom closet and pulled out the file box from the top shelf. It was unmarked, deliberately nondescript, the kind of container that wouldn't draw attention if someone saw it. Inside were 3 years of bank statements, all from accounts my brother knew nothing about. The inheritance from our grandmother had been substantial. $2.4 million, split evenly between Marcus and me. He'd received his half directly. I'd received mine through a trust with specific conditions, established because Grandma Rose had worried about my artistic tendencies and wanted to ensure I'd be responsible. She died before seeing me become a teacher, before knowing I'd grown into someone who understood the value of money precisely because I'd grown up watching my parents struggle. Marcus had invested his inheritance in a tech startup that had gone public 3 years ago. On paper, he was worth $8 million now. His Instagram showed a life of luxury. The Meadowbrook estate, exotic vacations, designer everything. What his Instagram didn't show was the truth I'd discovered accidentally 18 months ago. I'd been having coffee with Tom Bradley, an old college friend who now worked in private wealth management. We'd been catching up when he mentioned casually that he'd had to decline Marcus as a client. "Your brother's a great guy," Tom had said, "but his debt-to-asset ratio is underwater. That tech stock he's sitting on? He'd borrowed against it heavily. The payments are eating him alive. I couldn't in good conscience take him on knowing he needs debt restructuring, not wealth management." I'd played it casual, but the information had gnawed at me for days until I'd hired a discreet financial investigator, the kind who specialized in background checks for prenuptial agreements. The report had been damning. Marcus and Vanessa were drowning. The mansion had a massive mortgage. Their cars were leased at premium rates. Credit cards maxed out. The tech stock he'd invested in had dropped 40% from its peak, and he'd borrowed against it when it was high. Now he was trapped. Couldn't sell without taking a huge loss. Couldn't maintain the lifestyle without income he didn't have. They were 3 months from foreclosure when I'd made my decision. I couldn't watch my brother lose everything. Despite our different paths, his finance career versus my teaching, his mansion versus my apartment, he was still my brother. The only family I had left after our parents died. So I'd set up an anonymous LLC and began making payments. The mortgage payment came through a corporate rental agreement with a shell company that supposedly leased part of their property for business purposes. $5,000 a month, paid like clockwork. Their car leases were consolidated and paid through a similar arrangement. An endorsement deal with a marketing firm that didn't quite exist. The country club membership, the private school for their daughter Emily, various other expenses, all quietly covered through carefully constructed financial arrangements that appeared legitimate on paper. $32,000 a month. For 3 years. I'd liquidated part of my trust carefully, working with my own financial advisor to ensure it was sustainable. My grandmother's trust had grown substantially. Conservative investments that had weathered market fluctuations. I could afford it barely if I lived modestly. And I had. My apartment was small. My car was 12 years old. I brought lunch from home. My colleagues thought I was just frugal, saving for retirement. None of them knew I was keeping my brother's mansion from being seized by the bank. I'd told myself it was temporary. That Marcus would figure things out, get back on his feet, return to actual profitability instead of the illusion of wealth. But 3 years had passed, and nothing had changed except the scale of Vanessa's spending. Her Instagram had grown to 50,000 followers, all watching her curate a lifestyle of designer bags and exotic vacations. She'd started a luxury lifestyle blog that generated exactly zero income but substantial expenses. And through it all, Marcus and Vanessa had no idea their life was being subsidized by the brother they barely saw, living in his modest apartment across town. I placed the file box back in the closet and looked at the invitation again. No gifts necessary. The irony was almost funny. I'd been giving them the ultimate gift for 3 years, their entire lifestyle, and they had no idea. Saturday arrived with crisp October weather, the kind that made Florida almost bearable. I picked up my rented tuxedo from the shop on Thursday, making sure it fit properly. The rental cost $180, which I noted was more than a week's groceries but less than a single hour of their party's catering bill. The drive to Meadowbrook took 40 minutes. The gated community sat on the eastern edge of the county, where property values jumped exponentially and casual wealth was the minimum barrier to entry. The guard at the gate checked my name against a list, then waved me through. The roads inside curved through manicured landscapes, each mansion set back from the street behind impressive gates and professional landscaping. Marcus and Vanessa's house stood at the end of Sterling Court, a modern architectural statement in glass and steel, all clean lines and expensive materials. The circular driveway was already filling with luxury cars. Mercedes, BMWs, a few Teslas, one Bentley. I parked my 12-year-old Honda Civic at the far end, next to the catering vans. The front door was open, a hired greeter directing guests through to the back terrace where the party was being held. I followed the flow of designer dresses and tailored suits through the marble foyer, past the floating staircase I'd seen in Vanessa's Instagram posts, out onto the expansive back terrace. 200 people easy. Maybe more. The terrace overlooked a pool that glowed turquoise in the evening light, surrounded by carefully arranged seating areas. A full bar stretched along one side, 3 bartenders working efficiently. Waiters circulated with trays of champagne and elaborate hors d'oeuvres. A string quartet played near the pool house. The whole thing looked like a magazine spread come to life. David, Marcus spotted me from across the terrace, weaving through clusters of guests with a champagne flute in hand. He'd put on weight since I'd last seen him, the kind that came from expensive restaurants and desk jobs, but his smile was genuine. You made it. He pulled me into a hug that smelled like cologne I couldn't afford and champagne I could identify by price point. Quite a party, I said, looking around at the assembled wealth. Vanessa outdid herself. You should see the dessert display. They're doing a croquembouche tower. Do you know how hard those are to make? He gestured expansively. Come on, let me introduce you around. The next hour was a blur of names and handshakes. Investment bankers, real estate developers, business owners, a state senator, People who casually mentioned vacation homes and private schools and charity galas with the same tone I used to discuss grocery shopping. Marcus introduced me each time the same way. "This is my brother David. He's a teacher." The responses followed a predictable pattern. Polite interest that quickly faded when they realized I wasn't a school administrator or education entrepreneur. Just a regular high school math teacher. Conversations would last about 90 seconds before eyes would drift to more interesting prospects. I didn't mind. I was used to being invisible in Marcus's world. What struck me was how completely my brother had embraced this life, this performance of wealth. He moved through the crowd like he'd been born to it, dropping names and making connections with practiced ease. He'd always been the charismatic one, even as kids. The one who could talk his way into or out of anything. I'd been the quiet one, more comfortable with numbers than people. We'd both used our gifts differently. Around 8 o'clock, Vanessa took the microphone near the quartet. She wore a dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary, her jewelry catching the strategic lighting that made everything glow. "Thank you all so much for being here to celebrate with Marcus and me." Her voice carried across the terrace, practiced and smooth. 10 years ago, I married my best friend, my partner, my absolute soulmate. The crowd made appreciative sounds. I stayed near the back, champagne glass in hand, watching. We've built such an incredible life together. This home, our beautiful daughter Emily, the amazing community of friends we're surrounded by tonight. She gestured at the assembled guests. "We're so blessed, so grateful. And we wanted to share this moment with all of you." Marcus joined her, and they kissed to applause and cheers. "There's a surprise coming later," Vanessa continued, her smile widening. "But first, let's eat. Chef Michael has prepared something extraordinary." The crowd moved toward the outdoor dining area where long tables had been set with what I recognized as rental china, the expensive kind. Place cards directed guests to assigned seats. I found my name at table 8, near the back corner. Not quite hidden, but definitely not prominent. The table filled with people I hadn't met, friends of friends, plus ones, others who didn't quite fit the inner circle. Dinner was spectacular. Multiple courses, wine pairings, presentations that looked like art installations. The couple next to me discussed their recent trip to the Maldives. Across the table, someone complained about contractor delays on their home renovation. I ate and listened and calculated. This single meal for 200 people probably cost $40,000. More than a year of my mortgage payments on the brother's house I was secretly funding. The irony sat heavy in my chest. After dinner, as servers cleared plates and brought out the promised Croquembouche Tower, an architectural marvel of cream puffs and spun sugar, Vanessa took the microphone again. Now for the surprise I mentioned. Her excitement seemed genuine, the kind that came from someone about to reveal something they'd been dying to share. As many of you know, I've been building my lifestyle brand over the past few years. Well, I'm thrilled to announce that I'm launching my own luxury consulting business. Applause rippled through the crowd. I'll be helping clients curate the life of their dreams. Home design, fashion, travel, entertainment. Everything that goes into living beautifully. She beamed. "We're calling it Vanessa Chen Luxury Consulting, and we're booking clients starting next month." More applause. Marcus raised his glass in a toast. The crowd followed suit. I stayed seated, glass untouched, mind racing. She was starting a business. A luxury consulting business. Based on a lifestyle she couldn't actually afford without my anonymous payments. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. "I want to thank everyone who's supported us," Vanessa continued. "Our incredible friends, our family, everyone who believed in our vision of living life to its absolute fullest." She paused, scanning the crowd, her eyes landing on me in the back corner. "Well, almost everyone." Her smile shifted, sharpened. "I see we have some people here tonight who don't quite understand the level we're operating on. People still focused on just getting by rather than thriving." A few uncomfortable laughs from the crowd. My stomach tightened. Like my brother-in-law David back there. She pointed directly at me. Bless his heart. He's a public school teacher. Can you imagine? Coming to an event like this in a rented tuxedo. The crowd turned to look. 200 pairs of eyes. My face burned. I mean, we love David. We do. Family is family. But there's a reason we put him at table 8 instead of the family table. Her laugh was light, dismissive. Some people are just charity cases, you know? They need our support, our patience. We can't all be winners. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. Marcus stood frozen, champagne glass halfway to his mouth, his expression unreadable. Vanessa seemed to realize she'd gone too far. Her smile faltered. I'm joking, of course. David knows I'm just teasing. We're family. But the damage was done. I stood slowly, every eye still on me, and set my champagne glass on the table with deliberate precision. Excuse me, I said to no one in particular, and walked through the crowd toward the exit. No one stopped me. The guests parted like water, avoiding eye contact, suddenly fascinated by their dessert plates. I heard Marcus call my name once, but I didn't turn around. I got in my Honda Civic, drove through the gates of Meadowbrook, and returned to my small apartment where the file box waited in my bedroom closet. At 6:47 a.m. the next morning, I sent an email to my financial advisor with clear instructions. Cease all payments to the LLC accounts effective immediately. Begin liquidation process for asset recovery. Forward all documentation. Then I sent a second email to the property management company handling the rental agreement. Contract terminated. Final payment already processed. No further payments will be issued. I sent similar emails to the other shell companies handling various payments. By 7:15 a.m., I'd systematically dismantled the entire financial structure that had been keeping Marcus and Vanessa afloat for 3 years. Then I made coffee, sat on my small balcony, and waited. The first call came at 9:23 a.m. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. David, hey, listen about last night. Vanessa was drunk. She didn't mean anything by it. You know how she gets. Call me back, okay? Let's talk about this. The second call came at 10:47 a.m. Marcus again. I didn't answer. David, seriously, pick up. Vanessa feels terrible. She wants to apologize. Don't be like this. The third call came at 2:34 p.m. Different tone entirely. David, I need you to call me back right now. Something's happening with our accounts and I don't understand what's going on. Please just call me. I listened to each voicemail, deleted them, and returned to my book. By Monday morning, the emails would start arriving to Marcus and Vanessa. Notices about terminated payment agreements, discontinued services, accounts that had been mysteriously covering their expenses for 3 years suddenly, completely gone. By Monday afternoon, they'd start to understand. By Tuesday, their perfect world would begin to collapse. And I would watch it happen from my modest apartment, drinking affordable coffee, living the simple life that Vanessa had publicly mocked. Some people, she'd said, were charity cases. She had no idea how right she was, or how quickly charity could be withdrawn. Monday morning started with 17 missed calls from Marcus. I silenced my phone and went to work. My first period class was Algebra 2. 32 juniors who couldn't care less about quadratic equations but needed the credit to graduate. I taught the same way I always did, methodical and clear, helping students who struggled and pushing those who didn't. During lunch, I checked my phone. 43 missed calls now. Marcus, Vanessa, even 2 from my brother's business manager whose number I'd never seen before. The voicemails had evolved from confused to panicked. David, I don't know what's happening. The mortgage company says our payment account is closed. The corporate lease they said funded it doesn't exist. None of this makes sense. Please call me. David, this isn't funny. I need to understand what's going on. Did you have something to do with this? Just tell me what's happening. Please, David. We need to talk. Everything is falling apart and I don't know why. I deleted them all and returned to my sandwich. My afternoon classes proceeded normally. AP Calculus, then 2 sections of geometry. At 3:30, I stayed late to tutor a student struggling with proofs. At 5 o'clock, I drove home through rush hour traffic, listening to a podcast about the Roman Empire. My phone rang constantly. I let it. At home, I made dinner. Pasta with vegetables, simple and cheap, and settled in to grade papers. The repetitive work was soothing, red pen marking mistakes and offering corrections with the same patient precision I used in class. Around 8, someone knocked on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Marcus stood in the hallway, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, his eyes red-rimmed. I opened the door. Finally, he pushed past me into the apartment. I've been calling you for 2 days. Why aren't you answering? I've been busy, I said, closing the door. Busy? His voice cracked. David, our entire life is imploding and you've been busy? I gestured to the papers spread across my coffee table. Midterms. A lot of grading. He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Are you serious right now? I sat back down and picked up my red pen. Was there something you needed, Marcus? Something I needed. He laughed, a sound devoid of humor. The mortgage company called. Said the corporate account that's been paying our mortgage for 3 years just closed. No explanation. Just closed. I kept grading. Circle the error, write the correction, move to the next problem. The car leases too. And the country club membership. And Emily's school tuition account. Marcus was pacing now, his movements jerky and agitated. All of it gone. All at once. These accounts I didn't even fully understand. They just sent money every month and I assumed it was part of some business deal I'd made. Did you? I interrupted, looking up. Make a business deal? He stopped pacing. What? You said you assumed the payments were from a business deal. Which deal specifically? Who was the payment from? His mouth opened, then closed. I don't know. There were documents. Some LLC I couldn't quite trace. But it all seemed legitimate. Seemed, I repeated, returning to my grading. David. He moved closer, standing over the coffee table. Do you know what's happening? I set down my pen and met his eyes. Vanessa called me a charity case. In front of 200 people. Said I was operating on a different level, that I needed your patience and support. That I wasn't a winner like you. She was drunk. She was honest. I picked up my pen again. Drunk words are sober thoughts. Isn't that what they say? So what? You're punishing us because she said something stupid at a party. His voice rose. You're my brother. You're supposed to be above petty revenge. Petty revenge. I tasted the words. Is that what you think this is? What else would it be? I stood, walked to my bedroom, and returned with the file box. Set it on the coffee table between us. Opened it. Pulled out 3 years of statements. This is the LLC that's been paying your mortgage, I said, pointing to the first stack. I created it. I funded it. $5,000 a month for 36 months. That's $180,000. His face went white. This is the marketing company that's been paying your car leases, I continued, pulling out another stack. Also me. Another $2,400 a month. That's $86,400. David. Country club membership. Emily's school tuition. Your property taxes. Various other expenses I've quietly covered while you and Vanessa posted Instagram photos from Paris and Dubai and the Maldives. I kept pulling out statements, stacking them between us. Want to guess the total? He was shaking his head, slowly, like he could refuse the information by refusing to acknowledge it. $1.15 million, I said. Over 3 years. From my inheritance. From the trust Grandma Rose left me. The silence stretched long enough for me to hear my neighbor's TV through the wall. You've been paying for our life? Marcus's voice was barely above a whisper. I've been keeping you from losing everything. I sat back down. You borrowed against your tech stock when it was at peak value. When it dropped, you were trapped. Couldn't sell without massive losses. Couldn't make payments on the lifestyle you'd built. How did you? Tom Bradley. Remember him from college? He's in wealth management now. Mentioned your situation to me at coffee. I got curious. Hired an investigator. I gestured at the file box. Found out you were 3 months from foreclosure. So I helped. Marcus sank onto my couch, the expensive fabric of his suit. Probably $3,000, ironically, contrasting with my IKEA furniture. Why? He asked. Why would you do that? Because you're my brother. I shrugged. Because I thought you'd figure things out, get back on your feet, maybe even ask for help instead of pretending everything was perfect. Because I'm an idiot who thought family meant something. It does mean something. Apparently, it means charity case. I picked up my pen. It means rented tuxedo. It means table 8, far from the winner's circle. Vanessa didn't mean. She meant exactly what she said, Marcus. And you stood there and let her say it. Didn't correct her. Didn't defend me. Just stood there with your champagne and your fake life, built on money I was giving you, while she humiliated me publicly. He had no response to that. So yes, I continued. I withdrew my support. Terminated the charity. You called it petty revenge. I call it returning to reality. You wanted to live at a level I couldn't understand? Fine. Do it without my money. Marcus's hands were shaking. David, we'll lose the house. The cars. Everything. Probably. Emily's school. Public schools exist. I teach at one. They're not as bad as you seem to think. You don't understand. He was pleading now. Vanessa's business launch. She has clients lined up. People invested in the brand she's built. If we lose the house, if everything falls apart publicly. The brand built on money she didn't know came from me? I interrupted. The lifestyle she curated with funds she didn't earn? That brand. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I set down my pen again. You've been living a lie, Marcus. An expensive, impressive, Instagram perfect lie. And I've been funding it while living here. I gestured at my small apartment. Shopping at Aldi, driving a car older than most of my students, wearing the same 5 outfits on rotation. So that you could have everything. I didn't know. Because you didn't ask. Didn't question where the money came from when you knew your finances were underwater. Didn't wonder about the mysterious LLC payments. You just accepted it because it allowed you to keep pretending. The truth of that settled over him visibly, hunching his shoulders. What do you want? He asked finally. An apology. I'll apologize. Vanessa will apologize. We'll make it right. I don't want an apology. Then what? I looked at him. My older brother, the charismatic one, the successful one, currently falling apart on my cheap couch. I want you to figure it out, I said. Like I had to figure out how to live on a teacher's salary while secretly supporting your mansion. Like millions of people figure out how to live within their means every day. I want you to join reality. David, the payments are done, Marcus. I've withdrawn all support. You have about 2 months before foreclosure proceedings start, based on how behind you probably are already. Figure it out. He stood abruptly, his face cycling through emotions, anger, fear, desperation. You're really going to let us lose everything? Your niece, Emily. You're going to let her lose her home. The guilt tactic was predictable. And it might have worked if Vanessa hadn't spent Saturday night mocking me in front of 200 people. Emily will be fine, I said. She'll adjust. Kids are resilient. Maybe it'll even be good for her to learn that money doesn't fall from the sky, that Instagram likes don't pay mortgages. Marcus stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd been a stranger all along. Just the quiet brother funding his lavish life from the shadows. Fine. His voice went cold. Fine. We'll figure it out ourselves. We don't need you. Good. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the knob. You're going to regret this. Maybe, I acknowledged. But at least I'll regret it from a place of honesty instead of pretending to be something I'm not. He left without another word. I returned to my grading. Marked errors, wrote corrections, calculated scores with the same methodical precision I'd used to calculate how much I could afford to give my brother without destroying my own financial future. The difference was, I'd stopped calculating for him. He was on his own now. Just like I'd always been. The next 2 weeks played out like a slow-motion car crash I could watch from a comfortable distance. Tuesday morning, Vanessa called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail that started apologetic and ended accusatory. David, it's Vanessa. Listen, I'm sorry about what I said at the party. I had too much champagne and I was trying to be funny and it came out wrong. But what you're doing now, cutting off Marcus like this, it's cruel. We have a child. We have obligations. Whatever you were paying for, we can work out a payment plan or something. Just call me back. I deleted it. Wednesday, my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. The bank is demanding 3 months of back mortgage payments by end of month. $15,000. Do you have any idea what that means for us? I did have an idea. It meant they'd been even further behind than I'd thought before my payments started. My anonymous support hadn't just maintained their lifestyle. It had rescued them from immediate collapse. I didn't respond. Thursday brought an email from Vanessa's new business account, the luxury consulting venture she'd announced with such fanfare. Dear David, I'm reaching out professionally, not personally. As you may know, I've launched Vanessa Chen Luxury Consulting. I have 3 clients already signed, paying $5,000 a month each for my services. This is a legitimate business with real income potential. If you were helping Marcus financially, I appreciate it, but we don't need it anymore. However, the sudden withdrawal has created cash flow issues during our launch phase. If you could provide a short-term bridge loan, $25,000, I can pay you back with interest within 6 months. This is a business proposal, not a family favor request. Best regards, Vanessa Chen founder, Vanessa Chen Luxury Consulting. The professional tone almost made me laugh. She was asking for $25,000, more than half my annual teaching salary, and framing it as a business opportunity. I archived the email without responding. Friday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Is this David Chen? An unfamiliar woman's voice. Professional. Yes. This is Patricia Vance from Meadowbrook Community Association. I'm calling about a complaint we received regarding you. I straightened in my chair. A complaint? Yes. We had a report that you've been harassing residents Marcus and Vanessa Chen, creating financial distress through fraudulent business schemes and then withdrawing support as retaliation for a personal dispute. The audacity was breathtaking. I haven't harassed anyone, I said carefully. I provided voluntary financial support to my brother through legitimate channels. I then chose to discontinue that support. That's not harassment. The complaint suggests you misrepresented the nature of the support, creating false business entities. The entities weren't false. They were private LLCs I created and funded, all legally structured and properly documented. My brother accepted payments from these entities for 3 years without questioning their source. That's not fraud on my part. Silence on the other end. Then I see. Well, we'll need to review the documentation. Feel free. I'm happy to provide my attorney's contact information if you need verification of the legal structure. I didn't actually have an attorney yet, but the confidence in my voice seemed to work. That won't be necessary at this point. I'll note your response in our file. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chen. She hung up. I sat staring at my phone, processing the fact that Marcus and Vanessa had actually tried to weaponize their homeowners association against me. That evening, I made a decision I'd been avoiding. I called Sarah Mitchell, an attorney I'd met through a teachers' union event. She specialized in estate planning and family law. Exactly what I needed. David, good to hear from you. What can I do for you? I explained the situation. All of it. The inheritance, the 3 years of payments, the public humiliation, the sudden withdrawal, Marcus and Vanessa's various attempts to pressure me into resuming support. Sarah listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Okay, she said finally. First, you did nothing illegal. You can give money to anyone you want, and you can stop giving money anytime you want. The LLCs were legitimate business structures, even if their sole purpose was facilitating gifts to your brother. That's good. Second, document everything. Every payment, every communication, every attempt they make to contact you. If they escalate, and they might, you'll want a paper trail. Escalate how? Lawsuits, mostly. They might claim you created a verbal contract or implied ongoing support. They might argue you're obligated to continue payments based on their reliance on your support. She paused. It's a weak case, but desperate people file weak cases. What should I do? Get ahead of it. Let me draft a formal letter to your brother and his wife, clearly stating that all financial support was voluntary, that no contract existed, and that you're under no obligation to continue payments. Send it certified mail so there's proof they received it. That feels harsh. Harsh is better than ambiguous. Right now, they're in denial, probably convincing themselves you'll change your mind. This makes it clear you won't. I agreed, and Sarah said she'd have the letter ready by Monday. That weekend was quiet. No calls, no texts, no attempts to reach me. I almost wondered if Marcus and Vanessa had accepted reality. Then Monday morning arrived with a notification on my phone. I'd been tagged in a social media post. Vanessa's Instagram. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The post was a carefully composed photo of her sitting in their mansion's living room, looking contemplative and vulnerable. The caption was long. Sometimes the people you think will always be there for you reveal their true colors. Family should mean unconditional support, but some people put pride and petty grudges above the people they claim to love. Marcus and I are going through an incredibly difficult time right now. Without going into detail, someone close to us has withdrawn support at our most vulnerable moment, creating unnecessary hardship for our family, including our daughter. I've learned that true character shows in crisis. Some people lift you up. Others tear you down. I'm choosing to focus on the amazing community around us. Friends who've reached out with love and support. You know who you are, and we're grateful. To those dealing with toxic family members, you're not alone. Sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're born into. #family drama, #toxic people, #choosing peace, #luxury lifestyle, #stay strong. The post had 847 likes and 134 comments, most of them supportive. So sorry you're dealing with this. Family can be the worst sometimes. You don't need toxic people in your life, even if they're related. Stay strong, girl. You've got this. I read through them with detached fascination. Vanessa had positioned herself as the victim, painting me as the villain, without ever explicitly saying what I'd done or why. It was masterful manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text from Tom Bradley. My college friend who'd inadvertently started this whole thing. Hey, saw Vanessa's post. Everything okay? I considered how to respond, then typed. Everything's fine. Long story. I'll explain over coffee sometime. Sounds good. Let me know if you need anything. I appreciated the offer, even though I knew I wouldn't take him up on it. This was my mess to handle. Sarah's letter arrived by courier Monday afternoon. I read it at my kitchen table, impressed by the formal legal language that made my position crystal clear. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Chen, this letter serves as formal notice regarding financial support provided by David Chen over the past 3 years. All payments made through various LLC entities were voluntary gifts. No contract, express or implied, was created. No obligation for continued support exists. Effective October 15th, all financial support has ceased. This decision is final. Any further attempts to characterize these voluntary gifts as contractual obligations, or to publicly misrepresent the nature of the support provided, may result in legal action. Please direct all future communication through my office. Sincerely, Sarah Mitchell, Attorney at Law. It was perfect, clear, professional, and unmistakably final. I signed the authorization for Sarah to send it, then settled into grade papers while I waited for the fallout. It came faster than expected. Tuesday morning, Marcus left a voicemail that dispensed with any pretense of civility. You sent a lawyer's letter? Are you kidding me right now? We're your family, David. Your family. And you're treating us like we're strangers trying to sue you. You know what? Fine. If you want to play it this way, we'll play it this way. Don't expect any relationship with Emily going forward. Don't expect to be invited to family events. You've made your choice. Live with it. The threat to cut off my relationship with my niece stung more than I expected. Emily was 7 years old, sweet and curious, completely innocent in all this. I'd missed her recent birthday party. It had fallen during midterms, and I'd sent a gift instead of attending. Now I wouldn't be invited at all. I saved the voicemail, adding it to the documentation Sarah had advised me to keep. Wednesday brought the next escalation, a Facebook post from Marcus, his first social media activity in months. Unlike Vanessa's carefully curated victimhood, Marcus's post was raw and angry. There's a special kind of betrayal that comes from family. When someone you've trusted your whole life stabs you in the back over something petty, it reveals who they really are. My brother helped us financially for a few years, then withdrew all support overnight because his feelings got hurt at a party. No warning. No discussion. Just pulled the rug out and walked away. Now we're facing foreclosure on our home. My daughter might have to change schools. All because someone chose revenge over family. If you're reading this, David, I hope you're proud of yourself. The post had less engagement than Vanessa's. Marcus had never been as active on social media, but the comments were uniformly sympathetic to him. That's terrible, man. Sorry you're dealing with this. Families should never turn on each other like that. Sounds like he's jealous of your success. That last comment almost made me laugh. Jealous of success I'd been funding. I screenshotted the post and sent it to Sarah. Her response was immediate. Don't engage. Document everything. They're building a narrative, but it won't hold up if challenged. Thursday morning, I got an email from Emily's school. The exclusive private academy I'd been anonymously funding through my LLC payments. Dear Mr. Chen, we regret to inform you that Emily Chen will not be able to return for the spring semester due to outstanding tuition balance. The corporate scholarship program that had been covering her tuition has been discontinued. Please contact the administration office to discuss payment options or transition planning. So they'd gotten the notice about the tuition ending. Emily would have to change schools mid-year, which Marcus had mentioned in his Facebook post as a tragedy. I felt a pang of guilt, then reminded myself that public schools existed. Good public schools, where teachers like me worked hard to educate students regardless of their family's income level. Emily would be fine. Friday brought the call I'd been expecting but dreading. My phone rang at 7 p.m. Unknown number. I answered. David Chen. An official-sounding male voice. Yes. This is Officer Martinez with the Orlando Police Department. I'm calling about a report filed by Marcus and Vanessa Chen. They've alleged financial fraud and theft. I need to ask you some questions. My stomach dropped, but I kept my voice steady. I'd prefer to have my attorney present for any questions. That's your right. But just so you're aware, the allegation is that you created fraudulent business entities to gain access to their property and finances, then withdrew support as retaliation. That's completely false. I created legitimate business entities to provide voluntary financial support to my brother. All documentation exists. My attorney can provide it. I see. Well, we'll need to review that documentation. Can you have your attorney contact me? I took down his information and called Sarah immediately after hanging up. She answered on the first ring. They filed a police report? Apparently. Okay. Don't panic. This is desperation, not a real case. I'll contact the officer, provide documentation of the legitimate business structures and the voluntary nature of the support. They won't pursue charges. You're sure? I'm sure. What they're describing isn't a crime. You can give money to anyone you want and you can stop. Period. She was right. By Tuesday, Officer Martinez called back to inform me that no charges would be filed. The civil matter between family members didn't constitute fraud or theft, but the attempted police report told me everything I needed to know about how desperate Marcus and Vanessa had become, and how far they were willing to go. October became November. The leaves changed in the few places Florida pretended to have seasons. My teaching routine continued. Classes, grading, tutoring, occasional faculty meetings where I zoned out thinking about quadratic equations instead of department politics. My phone stayed quiet. Marcus and Vanessa had finally stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped trying to reach me through intermediaries. The social media posts had stopped too. I assumed Sarah's letter had made them realize that public declarations could be used against them. I told myself I was fine with the silence, that I'd made my choice and was living with it. Then the first week of November brought a certified letter. Chen versus Chen. Civil complaint for breach of implied contract and promissory estoppel. They were suing me. I read the complaint at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold beside me. The legal language was dense, but the argument was simple. I'd created an implied contract by providing regular payments for 3 years. Marcus and Vanessa had relied on this support to their detriment, making financial decisions based on my continued assistance. My sudden withdrawal caused them harm, making me liable for damages. They were seeking $1.2 million, the total amount they'd received over 3 years, plus additional damages for emotional distress and reputational harm. I called Sarah. I saw it, she said. They sent me a copy as your attorney of record. It's weak, David. Very weak. It doesn't feel weak. They're suing me for over $1 million. They're desperate. The foreclosure must be imminent. She paused. Let me be clear about what's happening here. This lawsuit has almost no chance of succeeding. You can give gifts to anyone, and gifts don't create contractual obligations. The fact that they relied on your generosity doesn't make you legally responsible for continuing it. Then why file? Pressure. They're hoping you'll settle, agree to resume payments, or give them a lump sum just to make it go away. It's a common tactic in family disputes. What do I do? We respond, we document everything, and we prepare for it to be dismissed. In the meantime, you continue your life exactly as before. Easier said than done. The lawsuit notification triggered something in me, a low-grade anxiety that hummed in the background of everything. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about depositions and court dates and the possibility, however remote, that a judge might side with them. Teaching became my refuge. In the classroom, I could focus on polynomials and proofs, helping students understand concepts that had clear right and wrong answers. No ambiguity, no emotional manipulation, just math. Mid-November brought an unexpected visitor to my apartment. I came home from school to find someone sitting on the floor outside my door. A girl, maybe 7 years old, in a school uniform I didn't recognize. Emily. Uncle David. She jumped up when she saw me. I've been waiting forever. My chest tightened. Emily, sweetheart, what are you doing here? Where are your parents? Mom dropped me off. She said you'd babysit for a few hours while she handles something important. Emily followed me inside as I unlocked the door. I haven't seen you in so long. Mom said you were busy, but I missed you. I checked my phone. No messages from Vanessa, no missed calls. Just my niece, deposited at my apartment without warning. Did your mom say when she'd pick you up? She said dinner time. Can we get pizza? Mom never lets me get pizza anymore. She says it's not part of our brand. Emily made air quotes, clearly mimicking something she'd heard. I texted Vanessa. Emily is here. You need to pick her up ASAP. This isn't okay. No response. I called. Straight to voicemail. Tried Marcus. Same thing. I looked at Emily, who was exploring my small apartment with unguarded curiosity, and realized I'd been manipulated. They'd used my niece as a pawn, knowing I wouldn't turn away a 7-year-old. Okay, I said, making a decision. Pizza sounds good. But first, I need to call someone. I called Sarah. They dropped Emily at your apartment without permission? Her voice was tight with anger. That's abandonment. That's using a child as leverage. What do I do? Feed her, keep her safe, document everything. If they don't respond within 2 hours, you call the police and report an abandoned child. That'll get their attention fast. I didn't want to call the police, but I also wasn't going to be manipulated. Emily and I ordered pizza. Her delight at the simple pleasure of pepperoni was almost heartbreaking. She talked about her new school, a public elementary, confirmed my suspicion that she'd already transferred. Her friends, her confusion about why we didn't see each other anymore. Mom says you're mad at us, she said between bites. But she won't say why. Are you mad at me too? I'm not mad at you, sweetheart. Not even a little bit. Then why don't you visit? How do you explain adult betrayal and financial manipulation to a 7-year-old? Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements, I said carefully. It's between me and your parents. It's not about you. She seemed to accept that, returning to her pizza with a child's ability to live in the moment. At 8 p.m., 4 hours after Emily's arrival, Vanessa finally texted. Running late. Can Emily stay the night? I'll pick her up in the morning. I called immediately. This time she answered. Vanessa, you can't just drop Emily at my apartment without warning. I had an emergency. I knew you'd take care of her. You love Emily. That's not the point. You can't use your daughter as a manipulation tool. Manipulation. Her voice sharpened. I needed help with childcare and you're her uncle. That's what family does. Oh wait, I forgot. You don't believe in family anymore. Pick her up. Tonight. Or I'm calling the police. Silence. Then, you wouldn't. Try me. She hung up. 20 minutes later, Marcus's car pulled up outside. I walked Emily down to the parking lot, her hand in mine, her overnight backpack, which I now realized Vanessa had packed, planning this, slung over my shoulder. Marcus got out but didn't approach. Just waited by the car, engine running. Hey, Dad. Emily waved and ran to him. He buckled her into the back seat without looking at me. Then he finally met my eyes over the roof of the car. Using her as a weapon? I called across the parking lot. Really? You want to talk about weapons? You destroyed our entire life over hurt feelings. I stopped giving you money I had no obligation to give in the first place. Money we needed. Money you knew we needed. You let us build a life dependent on your support, then yanked it away to punish Vanessa for one stupid comment. She called me a charity case in front of 200 people, while living in a house I was paying for. We didn't know that. His voice cracked. We didn't know any of it. You never told us. You just let us think we were making it work, and then you destroyed everything without warning. The accusation hung between us. There was truth in it. I hadn't told them where the money came from. I'd let them believe in their own success while secretly propping it up. But I'd also saved them from foreclosure, from bankruptcy, from losing everything. For 3 years. Asking nothing in return except basic human respect. You're right, I said. I should have told you. I should have been honest about the support instead of hiding it. But you know what, Marcus? You should have been honest too. About your debt, about your failing business, about the fact that you were drowning and couldn't maintain the lifestyle you were pretending to live. So this is our fault? For being too proud to admit we needed help. This is about consequences. About reality. About learning that actions have prices. Emily was watching us through the car window, confusion on her young face. Marcus saw where I was looking. His expression softened slightly. She misses you, he said quietly. She doesn't understand why you don't visit anymore. The guilt hit harder than expected. Then tell her the truth. That her parents sued me for trying to stop helping them. That you used her as a manipulation tool tonight. Tell her why family relationships fall apart. You're so self-righteous. Marcus opened his car door. Standing there judging us from your modest apartment, teaching your modest classes, living your modest life. You think that makes you better than us? You think being poor makes you morally superior? I don't think I'm better than you. I just think I'm more honest. Honest. He laughed, the sound bitter. You hid your support for 3 years. That's the opposite of honest. He got in the car and drove away before I could respond. I stood in the parking lot long after his taillights disappeared, Emily's words echoing in my head. Are you mad at me too? Back in my apartment, I found a drawing she'd made while I was ordering pizza. Stick figures labeled Uncle David and Emily holding hands, a sun with a smiley face overhead. I put it on my refrigerator, the first personal item I'd displayed in months. Then I called Sarah and told her about the incident. Document it, she said. Date, time, what happened. Add it to the file. This shows a pattern of manipulation. They're going to lose their house, aren't they? Probably. The foreclosure process in Florida takes about 6 months from first notice. Based on when you stopped payments, they're probably 4 months in. Maybe less. And then they'll have to find somewhere else to live. Downsize. Join the rest of us living within our means. She paused. David, I know this feels harsh, but you didn't create their problems. You just stopped shielding them from consequences. I knew she was right, but knowing didn't make it feel any better. December arrived with Florida's version of winter. Temperatures dropping into the 60s, residents breaking out jackets they wore twice a year. At school, students were distracted by approaching finals and holiday break. I assigned review packets and proctored practice tests, going through the motions while my mind wandered. The lawsuit was proceeding slowly. Sarah had filed our response, arguing for dismissal on grounds that no contract existed. A hearing was scheduled for January. The judge will likely throw it out then, Sarah had assured me. The case has no merit. But likely wasn't definitely, and the uncertainty gnawed at me. The week before winter break, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. realtalkorlando@gmail.com. David, you don't know me, but I was at Marcus and Vanessa's anniversary party. I saw what happened. How Vanessa humiliated you in front of everyone. I felt sick watching it. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know you and it felt like not my place. Anyway, I wanted you to know that most people there thought it was cruel. People were talking about it after you left. The general consensus was that Vanessa went way too far. I also wanted you to know that the whole luxury lifestyle consultant business, it's a fraud. She has no real clients. The 3 clients she mentioned are her friends paying her a nominal fee so she can claim income. They're not actually using her services. I know this because my wife is one of the clients. She felt bad for Vanessa and agreed to the arrangement. But it's all smoke and mirrors. I thought you should know the truth about what you're dealing with. Good luck with everything. I read the email 3 times, processing the information. Vanessa's business was fake. The income she'd claimed in her loan request, $15,000 a month from 3 clients, didn't exist. She'd been creating another illusion, another layer of pretend success. I forwarded the email to Sarah. This could be useful in the lawsuit, she replied. Shows they're not actually rebuilding financial stability, just creating new facades. I didn't respond. I was tired of thinking about Marcus and Vanessa, tired of the lawsuit, tired of the whole situation. I wanted it to be over. The last day before winter break, I stayed late to clean my classroom. Most teachers left right after the final bell, eager to start their vacation. I took my time, organizing supplies and filing student work, finding comfort in the simple tasks. My phone rang around 5 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Chen. A woman's voice, professional but warm. This is Janet Morrison. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services. My stomach dropped. Is Emily okay? Emily is fine, but I'm calling because we received a report about the Chen family situation. I understand you're Emily's uncle. Yes. And I understand there's been some family conflict recently? A lawsuit. That's correct. I want to be transparent with you, Mr. Chen. Someone filed a report claiming that Emily is being used as a pawn in family disputes. Specifically, that she was dropped at your residence without proper arrangement or supervision. The incident from November. Someone had reported it. That did happen, I confirmed. Her mother left her at my apartment without warning. When I tried to contact them, they didn't respond for hours. I see. And is it true that you're currently being sued by Emily's parents? Yes. They're claiming I owe them money for financial support I voluntarily provided and then discontinued. Silence on the other end. Then, this is a complicated situation. I know. Mr. Chen, I want to be clear. I'm not investigating you. Based on the report and preliminary investigation, you acted appropriately when Emily was left with you. You attempted to contact her parents, you provided care, and you eventually returned her safely. Relief washed through me. However, Janet continued, I am concerned about Emily's environment. Using a child as leverage in adult conflicts is a form of emotional manipulation. I'll be conducting a home visit with the family to assess the situation. After we hung up, I sat in my empty classroom trying to decide how I felt. I hadn't reported the incident to CPS. I'd assumed Sarah had, as part of documenting the manipulation. But maybe it had been someone else. Maybe the anonymous email sender who'd reached out about the party. Either way, Emily was now on CPS's radar because of her parents' decisions. I felt guilty and relieved in equal measure. Christmas came and went. I spent it alone, which was normal for me. In past years, I'd sometimes gone to Marcus's house for holiday dinners, though I'd always felt slightly out of place among Vanessa's elaborate decorations and expensive catering. This year, I made myself a simple meal, watched classic movies, and tried not to think about Emily opening presents in whatever new living situation her parents had arranged. 2 days after Christmas, Sarah called. The foreclosure sale happened. The house sold at auction yesterday. I'd been expecting it, but hearing it still felt surreal. For how much? 1.8 million. They owed 1.4, so there'll be some proceeds after fees. Maybe $300,000. That's something. It's something, Sarah agreed. But they also have credit card debt, car leases they can't maintain, and no real income. $300,000 won't last long at their spending rate. Where will they go? I don't know. That's not our concern. She was right. It wasn't our concern. But I still wondered. The answer came a week later through the anonymous email sender, Real Talk Orlando, who'd apparently become my unsolicited informant. They're moving into a townhouse in Altamonte Springs. Much smaller. 2 bedrooms instead of 5. No pool, no fancy amenities. Vanessa is apparently devastated. Thought you'd want to know. Altamonte Springs was a decent area. Middle class, affordable, the kind of place where normal people lived normal lives. It was basically what I'd been suggesting they embrace all along. The lawsuit hearing happened on January 12th. I took a personal day from school to attend. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Just a judge, a court reporter, the lawyers, and us. Marcus and Vanessa sat at the plaintiff's table with their attorney, a sharp-dressed man named Carson who'd probably cost them the remainder of their foreclosure proceeds. I sat at the defense table with Sarah, wearing my best suit, not rented this time, but still not expensive. Judge Williams was a woman in her 50s who looked thoroughly unimpressed with the proceedings before they even started. Carson presented their case with practiced confidence. He argued that I'd created an implied contract through consistent payments over 3 years, that Marcus and Vanessa had reasonably relied on this support to their detriment, and that my sudden withdrawal constituted a breach that warranted damages. He painted me as vindictive, using financial control as a weapon over a family dispute. Sarah's response was surgical. Your Honor, my client provided voluntary gifts to his brother. Gifts, not contractual payments. The fact that these gifts were regular doesn't transform them into obligations. The fact that the recipients relied on them doesn't create liability for their cessation. She walked the judge through documentation, the LLC structures, the voluntary nature of every payment, the absence of any written or verbal agreement requiring continued support. Then she introduced evidence of Marcus and Vanessa's own misrepresentation. The fake business clients, the continued luxury spending, the use of their daughter as manipulation. The plaintiffs are seeking to weaponize the legal system, Sarah concluded. They want to punish Mr. Chen for exercising his legal right to stop giving them money. This case should be dismissed immediately. Judge Williams asked a few pointed questions, reviewed the documentation, and then made her ruling without leaving the bench. Motion to dismiss is granted. No implied contract exists based on the evidence presented. Voluntary gifts, regardless of duration or regularity, do not create contractual obligations. Case dismissed. The gavel came down. It was over. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Marcus and Vanessa stood with their attorney, faces tight with frustration. I walked past without looking at them, following Sarah toward the exit. David. Marcus's voice stopped me. Can we talk? Please. Sarah put a hand on my arm. You don't have to. I know. I turned back. Marcus looked smaller somehow, diminished. Vanessa wouldn't meet my eyes. What do you want? I asked. I want to understand. Marcus stepped closer. How we got here. How we went from family to this. You want to understand. The months of anger finally found voice. You spent 3 years accepting money you didn't question, living a life you couldn't afford, posting it all on Instagram like you'd earned it. When I simply stopped giving you my money, you sued me. You used Emily as a weapon. You tried to destroy my reputation and my financial security because I wouldn't keep funding your fantasy. We were desperate. So was I. The words came out louder than intended. I was desperate to save my brother from losing everything. So I sacrificed my own financial security, my own comfort, my own future. Quietly, anonymously, asking nothing in return. And the one time I came to your home, your wife humiliated me in front of 200 people. Called me a charity case while standing in a house I was paying for. Vanessa finally looked up. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care. You didn't question where the money came from because questioning would have interrupted the lifestyle you wanted to project. The hallway was empty except for us and our attorneys. The truth echoed off marble floors. What do you want from us? Marcus asked finally. An apology. Acknowledgement. What would make this right? I thought about it, really thought about it. Nothing, I said. There's nothing you can give me that would make this right. The trust is broken. The relationship is done. I'm sorry about that for Emily's sake, but it's the truth. So that's it. We just stopped being family. We stopped being family when you sued me for stopping my charity. We're just making it official now. I turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I hope you figure it out. I hope the townhouse in Altamonte Springs is the start of living within your means. I hope Emily grows up understanding that character matters more than square footage. How did you know about Altamonte Springs? Vanessa's voice was sharp. I have my sources. I smiled without humor. Turns out, when you publicly humiliate someone at a party, witnesses remember. Some of them even reach out. I left them standing in the courthouse hallway, processing that information. Sarah and I walked to the parking garage in silence. At my car, she finally spoke. How do you feel? Empty, I admitted. Not relieved. Not victorious. Just empty. That's normal. Cutting ties with family, even toxic family, leaves a void. Will it get easier? Eventually. She gave me a small smile. You did the right thing, David. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. I drove back to my apartment, to my modest life, to my small space that was entirely mine and entirely honest. The void Sarah mentioned was real. But so was the freedom. For the first time in 3 years, I wasn't carrying the weight of someone else's pretend life. I was just carrying my own. And that, finally, felt manageable. Spring semester started with the quiet rhythm I'd always loved about teaching. New students, new chances to explain concepts clearly. New opportunities to help someone understand something they'd thought was beyond them. The lawsuit was over. The appeals period passed without Marcus and Vanessa filing anything. They'd accepted reality, or at least stopped fighting it legally. I didn't follow their social media anymore. Didn't check for updates or wonder how they were adjusting. I deleted the Real Talk Orlando emails without reading them. I didn't need anonymous updates on their life. I needed to move forward with mine. In February, something unexpected happened. I was at the grocery store, loading produce into my cart, when a woman approached me. Mid-40s, professional looking, vaguely familiar. You're David Chen, right? Marcus's brother. I tensed. Yes. I'm Rebecca Sullivan. I was at the anniversary party. I saw what Vanessa said to you. The party felt like it had happened years ago instead of months. I just wanted to say. Rebecca hesitated. What she did was cruel and unwarranted. A lot of us felt terrible watching it happen. And then when we heard about everything that came after, the lawsuit, the foreclosure, it put it all in perspective. I appreciate that. I also wanted you to know that people aren't buying Vanessa's victim narrative. Word got around about the real situation, about how you'd been helping them financially and they didn't even know it. She pulled out a business card. I run a financial literacy nonprofit. We teach money management to high school students. I'd love to have you come speak sometime. Share your perspective on living within means and making thoughtful financial decisions. I took the card, genuinely surprised. I'm just a math teacher. You're someone who understands the value of money and the cost of pretense. That's exactly what our students need to hear. We exchanged contact information, and I left the grocery store feeling something I hadn't felt in months: useful, valued, seen for who I actually was instead of who I wasn't. I started volunteering with Rebecca's nonprofit in March. Once a month, I'd visit other schools and talk to students about financial literacy, about the difference between what things cost and what they're worth. I shared my story, carefully without naming names, about family members who'd chosen image over reality, and the eventual cost of that choice. The students listened. Some of them were from affluent families who recognized the spending patterns I described. Others were from modest backgrounds who'd always wondered how people afforded the lives they saw on social media. "My Instagram makes it look like I live this amazing life," one girl admitted during a session. "But it's all angles and borrowed clothes and pretending. I'm exhausted by it." "So stop," I said simply. "Post your real life. The people worth knowing will respect it. The ones who don't were never really your friends anyway." It felt like the right message, the one I wished I'd given Marcus years ago. One evening in April, I was grading papers in my apartment when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Emily. I opened the door, confused and concerned. "Emily, what are you doing here?" "Mom's in the car." She pointed to the parking lot where Vanessa's new vehicle, a used Honda, not a luxury lease, sat running. "She said I could come say hi, but just for a minute." I stepped outside, kept the door open behind me. Vanessa remained in the car, barely visible through the windshield glare. "How are you, sweetheart?" "Good. I like my new school. And our new house is smaller, but I get my own room and there's a playground nearby." She was talking fast, clearly nervous. "Mom says we can't afford a lot of the stuff we used to do, but Dad got a new job and things are better now." "I'm glad to hear that. I miss you, though." Her voice went quiet. "I wish you could visit." The guilt hit sharp and immediate. "I miss you too, Emily. So much." "Then why don't you come over? Mom says it's complicated, but I don't understand why it has to be." How do you explain adult betrayal to an 8-year-old without making her parents into villains? "Sometimes grown-ups disagree about important things," I said carefully. "And when that happens, they need space from each other. It's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. But it's been so long." "I know." She hugged me, quick and tight, then ran back to the car before I could respond. Vanessa pulled away without looking at me. I stood in the parking lot feeling the void Sarah had warned me about, the empty space where family should be. That night, I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked up Marcus and Vanessa's social media. Marcus had been quiet. Just a few posts about his new job in financial consulting, carefully professional. No more mansion photos, no more luxury vacation shots. Just a normal guy with a normal job. Vanessa's Instagram had changed dramatically. The luxury lifestyle content was gone, replaced by posts about financial recovery and authentic living. She'd repositioned herself as someone who'd overcome hardship, learned valuable lessons about what really mattered. The most recent post showed their modest townhouse with the caption, "Home is where your people are, not how many square feet you have. Learning to find joy in simplicity. #real-life, #financial recovery, #grateful heart." It had 2,000 likes and hundreds of comments praising her vulnerability and growth. I closed the app, not sure how to feel. Was this genuine change or another performance? Had they actually learned something, or were they just adapting their brand to new circumstances? I'd probably never know. In May, I got an unexpected letter in the mail. Return address: Marcus and Vanessa Chen. I almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won out. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a handwritten letter from Marcus. "David, I know this doesn't come close to what you gave us. I know $5,000 is insulting compared to $1.15 million. But it's what we can afford right now, and I wanted you to have it. I got a job with a financial consulting firm. I'm helping people who are where Vanessa and I were. Drowning in debt, living beyond their means, facing foreclosure. It's humbling work, but important. And I'm good at it because I lived it. Vanessa is working too. Part-time bookkeeping, nothing glamorous. We've sold everything we don't need. Emily is adjusting. She misses you terribly. I'm not asking you to forgive us or resume a relationship. I'm just asking you to know that we're trying. We're facing reality instead of running from it. We're building something real instead of pretending. The monthly $5,000 payments will continue as long as we can afford them. We owe you money, time, respect. Things that can't be fully repaid. But we can try. I'm sorry for everything. Truly, deeply sorry. Marcus. I read it 3 times. $5,000 a month would take 19 years to repay $1.15 million, not accounting for interest or inflation or the emotional cost of the whole ordeal. But it was something. It was acknowledgement. Effort. Change, maybe. I called Sarah. They sent me money, I said, with a letter saying they'll keep sending it monthly. Are you going to keep it? I thought about it. I don't know. Part of me wants to send it back, prove I don't need it. Part of me thinks accepting it is holding them accountable. What does your gut say? Accept it, deposit it, and donate it to Rebecca's financial literacy nonprofit every month. Turn their debt into something useful for kids who need to learn these lessons early. I like that, Sarah said. Practical and generous. Very you. The school year ended in June. My students took their finals, passed or failed based on whether they'd done the work, moved on to summer plans and next year's challenges. I signed yearbooks, accepted thank you cards from students who'd struggled and succeeded, packed up my classroom for the summer. During the final faculty meeting, our principal mentioned a teacher recognition award. A parent had nominated someone for going above and beyond in teaching practical life skills that will matter long after the math is forgotten. They called my name. The award came with a small plaque and a $500 stipend. More importantly, it came with recognition that my work mattered, that helping students understand both equations and financial reality had value. I thought about the contrast. Being called a charity case by my brother's wife while secretly funding their life versus being recognized as someone who taught valuable life skills. The irony wasn't lost on me. That evening, I sat on my small balcony with coffee and the letter from Marcus. I deposited the check, set up an automatic monthly donation to Rebecca's nonprofit, turned their repayment into something constructive. But I still hadn't responded to Marcus. I pulled out my phone and typed a text message. Received your letter and payment. I'm donating the money to a financial literacy nonprofit that teaches teens the lessons you and Vanessa learned the hard way. Seemed appropriate. I don't know if we'll ever rebuild what we had. Too much damage, too much betrayal. But I appreciate you trying to make it right. For what it's worth, I hope you continue growing. For Emily's sake, if nothing else. David. I hit send before I could overthink it. His response came 30 minutes later. That's perfect. Really. Thank you for not sending it back. Maybe someday we can talk. No pressure. But maybe. Tell Emily I miss her too. She told me about visiting you. I know Vanessa shouldn't have let her go alone, but Emily was insistent. She loves you. Marcus. I stared at the message for a long time. Maybe someday. Maybe. The sun was setting over Tampa, painting my small balcony in orange and gold. My modest apartment, my 12-year-old car, my simple life. None of it had changed. But I had. I'd learned that generosity without boundaries becomes enabling. That family love doesn't require financial sacrifice. That walking away is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. I'd learned that the people who mock your modest life are often the ones who can least afford their impressive one. Most importantly, I'd learned that living authentically, within your means, according to your values, honest about your circumstances, was worth more than any facade of success. Marcus and Vanessa were learning it too, the hard way. But they were learning. And Emily would grow up understanding that real success wasn't measured in square footage or Instagram likes. It was measured in character, in honesty, in the courage to live your real life instead of a curated fantasy. The void was still there. Family relationships don't heal overnight, if they heal at all. But it was smaller now, more manageable. I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight anymore, just my own. And that, finally, felt like freedom. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have continued supporting family in this situation? When does generosity become enabling? Let us know where you're listening from, and click the next video to hear another story about family, money, and the complicated intersection of love and boundaries.